maybe it wasn't clear, but like, okay, we watched it again so it become clearer. So
let's go.
All right. In 3, 2, 1.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the second episode of Let Me Say This. Lemme. I am Megan, and this is
Aiden AD.
So the last episode, we talked about 846 Dave Chappelle in artistry. And we want to continue this episode with talking about another man of his craft, another artist that we all, or some, but between the two of us, have a respect for and appreciate their art form. And that is Spike Lee, who dropped his Netflix movie, The Five Bloods. Not the, T-H-E, but the. B-A. 5 Bloods. Spoiler alert, for those who have not seen it, it is 4 original war veterans of Vietnam who are returning to reclaim the body of a fallen soldier and their gold. Ooh.
I love gold.
So, question. What stood out to you?
What stood out for me is telling the backstory of the Vietnam War from a Black person's perspective. Because for the longest time, I think the Vietnam War goes down in American history as one of the worst wars we've ever fought, and how veterans from the Vietnam War come back here to the United States. And this is with any war, but it's just like how it affected them physically, how it affected them mentally, as far as especially assimilating back into American culture, and especially for people of color. And this goes on to the Civil War and World War II. And maybe World War I, if there was a huge number of us fighting in World War I, how we fought for this country and how we're shitted on as minorities in the service, as far as how we assimilate back to American society. So I like how it expose that story of not only the Vietnam War, how it exposed to us how just being a Black person in the service, different stories, and the ties with the Vietnamese, how some people in Vietnam, I think it was at the beginning of the movie, how the lady on the radio was like, our GI brothers and sisters, this is what's going on here. This is what's going on in America. So why are you not back at home fighting with your brothers and sisters back at home, and why are you fighting us? So that stood out for me.
That stood out to you, okay.
Because she looked directly at the camera. She's like, your brothers and sisters over here in America need you, so why are you fighting somebody that hasn't done anything to you? And then your America is not really treating your people equally. So why are you up here killing our people and bombing us? And you guys are the ones on the front lines. Because I think that was another thing that stood out too, because I like how Spike is going for some of his stuff. It's going more.
Now don't get carried away now.
Okay. Just basically facts that I didn't know, and stuff that I was taught about in school about the Vietnam War, but not really hearing different stories behind it. It's like hearing that what was that movie with Denzel Washington? Glory. Like hearing or seeing a Black person's story fighting in the Civil War, hearing the backstory, because we're taught this is the main thing that happened. This is how it affected America. What about the different stories? What about the white back at home? What about the person of color fighting overseas? So I like seeing different stories when it comes to historical events.
Can I go ahead and give my praise and shout to the actor that is Delroy Lindo for the role of Paul? Amen.
Before you say anything, I just want to say this. I will not be surprised if he gets a Golden Globe nomination or an Academy Award nomination. He needs to get a nomination for his role, especially that one scene he was doing a monologue while he was walking straight into the camera. Yeah, I was like that.
Before we're gonna put a pin in it for the monologue, I would like to talk about the things that stuck out for me and the things that I agree. I most definitely 100% agree with the radio host. It's a tool that Spike tends to use in some of his works, like Do the Right Thing. Samuel L. Jackson's character is a radio host.
Oh yeah.
So I do appreciate that. I was okay. So a little background of why I'm connected to it. So I did a show here in Chicago called The Ridiculous Darkness. It was a play for radio text. We did an adaptation, and we used some clips, or part of our dramaturgy was Apocalypse Now. And that is what you see on the back of the screen in the movie when they're dancing in the club. And so the thing that sticks out to me is that we get to see these men have a reconnection, a bond. They're dancing in the club. They're drinking daiquiris. They're, it looks like a Hawaiian vacation, but no, it's not. They're in Vietnam, and they are here to, the shit is about to hit the fan. So Apocalypse Now is a Vietnam War movie that is considered, it has critical acclaim. It's considered one of the best Vietnam War movies of all times. So to pay homage to that, I just want to acknowledge that and acknowledge that I felt connected because I did a piece that also used Apocalypse Now and also was about war. And we were women playing men in war. We were Black women playing men of war. So I also want to say the thing that stuck out to me was Paul dealing with PTSD, connection to them being Agent Orange's supporter.
You said Agent Orange. That is funny.
Because we don't say names. We don't use for people we don't care for. So right. they get no platform here.
Right.
Things that stick out, the beginning, the Marvin Gaye song meeting the Muhammad Ali, where his stance was with Vietnam War, right? And then we see these different slides. So Lyndon B. Johnson, President Nixon stepping down from their positions because some ish hit the fan. They were like, "Oh, we out." We would love for Agent Orange to step the fuck down, but his ego won't let him do such a thing. And the whole putting a man on the moon, spending money to put a man on the moon and feed him while he's on there when people are starving, when children are starving in America was so. Spike really be using his platform. This motherfucker really be saying some shit when he does his art. Okay. I also did another reading of a play about Kent State, Jackson State, two schools, two universities that had these killings, these brutal mass killings because of the racial tension on their campuses. And if you don't know about it, just look it up. It's Kent State, Jackson State. But I did a reading of a play here in Chicago as well about that. And I didn't know anything about it until that play. And to see Spike put it on his platform, to me, it's just like he really is trying to talk to people and get history out. And just like, I don't want to get off on that. Okay. My last image that I have that I thought was hilarious and let me know that Spike does not fuck with Agent Orange was when he has different titles underneath, right? And he has a clip of the Agent Orange, one of his rallies or whatever, and in the title he names him President Fake Bones First. I was like, oh, bitch.
Petty. petty.
Hilarious to have a movie about black bodies putting themselves in war and to see this man dodge over some bush lie. So those are the images for me that stick out. And again, that monologue. And that's when I knew in that moment that Paul was going to have to die like Denzel Washington in Training Day.
Okay.
Horrible death.
So what you said, I will, because that I didn't know about the killings on the college campuses. So I was gonna do some research on that because, like I said, I just watched it, and so I was like, wow, I didn't know that they had a race war on a college campus. So that stood out to me. Now,
police were shooting students.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. So that's why, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I like how Spike is like showcasing this also happened as well to especially people from my generation and younger who are taught certain things in the history books. And now you have, thankfully, Spike Lee and like some other people too. Maybe I would say Ava DuVernay with This Is Us, showcasing that this has happened for this generation. Especially, I'm liking the fact that this is Us and the Five Bloods.
When they see us.
Huh?
When they see us. This is us. It's not
yes. I'm happy.
That's K. Brown. Sorry.
But I like it how these works of art are available on Netflix and not just like the movie theater, because it's easily accessible with our generation. How, especially now during quarantine, when we have no other choice but to watch these works of art, because it's like if it's gone to the movie theater, only like people who were alive in those situations will probably go out and see it, but not like so much the younger generation. So like if the younger generation pops on Netflix, it just pops up and people are talking about it. And it's kind of like, okay, maybe we should watch it. And we get more informed of history than what we're taught into the schools. Now, another thing that stood out to me was at the beginning when they were sitting down with the French guy and how, what's his name, Papa Ray's character was telling the French guy, it was like, you know what? You wouldn't even be benefiting from anything right now if it wasn't for America, because the Nazis were on your ass. Luckily, America came in and helped save y'all. So don't act like you're doing us a favor right now. That whole situation, I'm not sure if you remember that part or not.
Yeah.
Sadly is, as much as I'm a movie watcher, I kind of predict what's going to happen. It's just like when it's going to happen. So I knew, like, as they were in the jungle after they found the goat, I was like, oh shit, one of the main characters is going to die. And so then,
how them stepping on a bomb was like.
But here's the thing though, I can tell when the setting changed from when they were in the open field into like a forest, which was kind of like a dead forest. I was like, oh shit, somebody's going to step on the mine, because I really thought they were going to step on the mine before they found the gold. Because I was like,
I didn't even realize you thought that.
Because I thought about it too, and I was just like, because what stood out to me too, what told that for me was when they were back at the restaurant at the beginning of the movie, and the little kid comes up, and then as he walks away, he's missing a limb. And I was just like, okay, I know it's a third world country, but how's he missing a limb? Is it like disease or something? And so then it all brings it back to, at the end, how those people, the white people, the French, were they French? The French people who were there for like their reasons, try to like eliminate mines throughout Vietnam, because they were showing, she was at the press conference.
The white activists, yeah.
White activists, okay, we'll say that. The white activists were at the press conference, and they had all people who were affected by mines that were left over from Vietnam. And so I was like, for me, I was kind of shocked, because I was like, here it is, like almost 50, 60 years later, and mines are still there, and they're still active. That's what I'm shocked about. It's just like, you would have thought like by now that the government in Vietnam would have swept the country by now and just like picked up those mines.
It's a jungle, no.
It's weird and sad. And so like, I remember, because he kept, the first guy who died because of the mines or the bombs or whatever, when he kept backing up, I was like, he's gonna step on it. He's gonna step on it.
With him, when he kept, I was like, he moving too much. Ain't nobody moving that hard. And then, but I did not expect him to just.
Yeah. I just knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, and I knew Ray was going to die because, and for me, looking at the character, it's like, do I sympathize with him or am I against him? Because he's been through shit. It's one of like those Disney movies where you kind of really side with the villain because they have a story. They've been through stuff to determine the way that they are, who they are today. So with him going through PTSD, him being like the only man out, not really thinking rationally. And it's kind of like, dude, you're doing too much. But at the same time, when he starts that monologue saying like, you know, I fought for this country, X, Y, Z, blah, 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 it's like, I feel you on that. Like, I see why the way you are now because of the shit you went through and how your belief is with America and us as humans, us as Black people. So
you understand that I don't want to get too carried away in like giving away the movie.
Okay.
I know we're gonna have to put a tag that says spoilers. But something about having more Black men than in the war than at home in America is telling. Having those same men have to come back with these nightmares and PTSD and having America really shit on them. Mm-hmm. You know, this man is like, I'm gonna get mine. Yeah, you know, his whole monologue was, I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna on my own. Paul ain't going now. Y'all not gonna take nothing else from me. You're not gonna take anything else from me. And I don't know if you, the reason why that was such a striking monologue to me coming from who the character was because so many times, especially with me living in Chicago, where it is super segregated. You can literally watch the color change on the train because of the history of redlining. I have ran into so many mentally ill people who rant off, but I really zone in and listen to what they're saying. And more often than not that I have personally experienced are those people somehow going back and forth with, you can't fuck with me, right? It's like, don't fuck with me, and you just doing this because I'm Black. And so you really are like, wow, racism really triggers this for us. We have to take care of our mental state. Racism within itself, because you just see where you hear people just talk about, it's hard and get off me, and so we tend to throw those people away or be scared of those people instead of really listening to what they're saying and how devastating their lives were because of. Mm-hmm. So I feel so grateful to an artist like Spike who is doing research, who is wanting to put out work. I never feel like Spike is putting out work as a way to participate in capitalism. Which some do. Who shall name nameless. I never feel like he is, I always just feel like he, in his heart, he's like, I have to tell this story and I have to tell this story now. And it's always timing that, it's always the timing. And I feel like, honestly, Spike has always put out good work. Spike has always done something to change the game. I know there's some things that people don't really appreciate, like Chirac, but that's a whole other subject for another day. But I will say, like you said, had this been in theaters, it could have fallen on deaf ears. And I'm glad that so many people are like, and I don't know if it's also that he you know, had Black Klansmen and that was such a huge thing. Because people did go see Black Klansmen, to be fair, but then also won the biggest award during, I think, Cannes Film Festival, right? So of course, people were like, I'm going to see this thing and this movie that he won grand prize on. And now we're here with the Five Bloods. And it's just, that is Spike's legacy, that he writes for the people, and he his activism is in his art. This man puts what he represents, who he is, how he moves in the world, what he believes, goes into those films.
Yes.
He said reinvent. I don't think Spike is a reinvent. I don't think he thinks that deeply. I think Spike finds stories and goes, oh, I didn't know that. Wow, that's a movie. He finds inspiration. This man,
that's sort of a reinvention, though?
Like I said, when I talked about Dave Chappelle coming from a parent who is an educator, so did Spike Lee. Can I just give you the rundown of the background? Like his both of his dad was a jazz musician. That's why we got More Better Blues. His mom was a educator in Black literature and arts. Okay, and he's a Morehouse man who studied film at Clark and NYU. So I just feel like this is just like we got information and educated from watching shows like A Different World. We're gonna get educated from watching films by Spike Lee, because he is an educator as well. You know what I mean? I just gotta say that because, like I said, I'm an educator. So I want to honor people who educate. I don't think, like I said, I don't think he thinks that deeply about, like, let me get my audience back, or let me, I just think he's like, this is dope. Oh my gosh, it has to be done. Let me figure out how to do it. And
he's educating through storytelling and highlighting about what went on. A lot of directors don't do that.
He's even learning himself, because he's like, I had to research this. I didn't know about the 18-year-old boy who got a Purple Heart because he Black.
Oh yeah.
Because he jumped on the bomb to save people's life. He put his body on the whole bomb to save the lives of his fellow brother.
Yeah.
So I just, we're going to give him his flowers.
Yeah.
So, wrapping it up, what is a final thoughts, not thoughts with an S, what is a final thought about Spike Lee or the Five Bloods? Anything related to that you would like to put out there to end this conversation about this piece?
I want to say thank you, Spike Lee, if you are watching this. Thank you for anybody who partook in this production, in this work of art. Thank you for telling the story that my generation, probably older generations and younger generations, did not know about. I want to say keep it going. I want to say thank you for making art, number one. Thank you for making good cinema arts. Thank you for making good historical cinema art. Thank you for making Black historical cinema art. I encourage that. Keep going. And I will be watching The Five Bloods again, because I felt like there's some things that I've missed, and there's a few more messages that I did not get. And so I encourage anybody who's ever seen The Five Bloods to rewatch it again and watch it without distractions, to see if you have missed something and to see if you actually gotten the message. That's just with any movie.
And I want to add this, because before we talked about this. One, I would like to say I understand that Spike is getting a lot of credit right now, but I do want to give a shout out to all the writers, and because I don't want to jack up your whole names,
anybody.
His name. Yeah. I would like to say thank you to Danny, Paul, Kevin, and Spike, all of those people who were writers on The Five Bloods. And I also would like to say, as someone who is an actor, when we read a play and we are researching that play, we have to read that play about 3 times for understanding. Okay, I'm entertained by this story, then okay, what are the given circumstances of this story, and then we go from there. And you can read that play more than 3 times for you to get into the character. That is the research, right? So I want to talk about how you talked about the ending thought of having to rewatch it. That's how much of a craftsman he is, because he has put so much layering. All the writers have put so much layering, so much detail, so many specifics, so much history into a story that you do have to go back and unpack those things again. You're not going to get it in that one thing, and that's the beauty of it. You could watch something one time and then walk away and be like, never think. I'm not even gonna blow nobody's spot up and say who I could walk away from and never have to watch that movie again. But like this, I watched BlacKkKlansman twice as well, just to let you know.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, I did not get this the first time. This is crazy. Sometimes you don't catch the comedy. Not all the time everything is dramatic. Some things have little comedic
moments.
Some things you start feeling the style, right? How Spike, he uses the same kind of music sometimes. So all of those things to say that this is someone who really is putting stuff in, because you were like, okay, I have to go back and revisit this, and 10 years from now I have to go back and watch Do the Right Thing. You know what I mean? So I just want to say I honor and I respect that type of work, just like a playwright's, just like a writer's, where I have to go back and reread and get a new meaning each time I grow within myself, because the more we grow, the wiser we get, and all that grand stuff. So thank you to Spike, the producers, the actors,
Netflix,
the craft table that was feeding everybody, because we come from theater, and that is just what it is. You put respect on everybody who worked on a piece, down to the person that put an earring on. Okay, it's a whole thing. It's an so positive vibes. What do we want to do to end this episode of Spike Lee, The Five Bloods, and all that jazz?
Like I said, watch the movie, watch it multiple times, but at the end of the day, regardless of how you feel about certain things within the movie or just amongst each other, be nice, be kind, be human.
I would say yes, tag that. And I would say positive things for me that I would like to say is that I'm learning more and more that we have to take into our own hands to learn our own history, no matter what the color of our skin is. Everyone's history is our responsibility, so that way we don't repeat the same things. So let's work on that. Let's work on getting to know ourselves and each other through our history. And thank you for tuning in.
Well, beautiful people, there you have it. Once again, I'm Aiden AD.
And I'm Megan D.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of Let Me Say This. Until we meet again, safe travels.